Welcome to the 20th episode of the Perfectly Imperfect Spiritual Podcast. My today's guest, Aoife Griffin, is a holistic healer who specializes in getting to the root causes of relationship issues. Aoife works with women and men, especially those who are post-divorce or on the verge of divorce, and their partners to help save their marriages. By addressing trauma from their mind, body, and soul perspective, Aoife, along with her partner, helps couples reignite their spark, reconnect intimately, and build healthier, happier relationships. Welcome, Aoife.
Hi, Martha. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too.
Would you be able maybe to start and tell the viewers and listeners, how did you become a relationship coach?
So I began after my own marriage ended. And at the time I didn't see all the red flags that were there and how toxic things were. And it ended up with me in an incredibly horrendous situation, for want of a better word. I was given 3 months to live. The damage that the stress of my marriage put on me, and I had to figure out a way to save myself. And then it evolved naturally. I had to figure out a way. At the time, I had 4 children. I now have 5. But at the time, I had to find a way to reinvent myself, reinvent my life, support us financially. And I was left with such low self-esteem. So the first thing I had to do was I had to rebuild my relationship with myself and figure out who I was. And then it has evolved over the last number of years to the people who are coming to me kind of navigated the direction I was going to go in. Because people started coming more and more with relationship issues. And then they were coming, firstly it was women coming, then it was men coming, then it was people coming together. And it kind of organically evolved to the space where we are now. And now I work one-on-one, but I also work with my partner where we work with couples. And it's lovely. And it's really good when you get to see 2 sides of the same story, because it's so easy for us to kind of take sides when you only hear one perspective. But when you get to hear how men and women see the exact same situation completely differently, and the issues that they would both have different priorities. And it's really lovely to be able to help couples navigate that. And women who come on their own or men who come on their own, and seeing their journey and how their perspective can change when you realize that 9 times out of 10, we are not actually fighting over the problem that we think we're fighting over, or we're not really having the conversation with the person in front of us. There's so much underneath them. There's so many layers. And by that, I mean, when you come to a relationship and you come with baggage and you come with the ghosts of relationship past, and not just partners, but parental relationship, and what your views are on relationships from what you saw as a kid growing up and what your normal is. So yeah, that's the long answer to where I've ended up here.
It's beautiful. And I think this is why you're able to help with your partners so many clients, because you're helping people to heal, and you take them through the same life experiences that you had to go through. So you have that personal knowledge and experience. I think that's why it becomes like more authentic, and that's why you attract so many clients, and you can take them on such a deeper level journey of like self-discovery. So what is the most frequent issue that people come to you with?
Well, from a relationship perspective, it's that the sex has stopped. So they've lost their intimacy, or intimacy has become, and this comes from both men and women, it's become like a chore or a task. Like I had one client who compared it to doing the ironing. It's not something that's enjoyed, but it's something that every so often they felt obliged to do. And I was in a relationship where sex was not something that I enjoyed. It wasn't something that I was part of. And I was really conscious of that for women, going like, this is something. And I come from Catholic Ireland. So we are told that sex is not something that you are supposed to enjoy. You're not taught that, anything about pleasure. You're not told you're handed a book across a table going, this is how your body physically works, but we're
Mm-hmm.
not exploring it like that. And the amount of women who are sitting at home, and men, who desperately want to connect with their partners, who have lost that physical connection and have no idea how to get it back because it's gone too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of people who come, it's a year or more, going into 2 years, 3 years, even more in some circumstances, since they've last been intimate with each other. And they've come to that stage where they're just roommates. They're just parents. They have lost that what brought them together. And then I also work with couples who are at the beginning of their journey, but through, say, a lack of self-confidence,
Mm-hmm.
or they've lost their ability to have that spark and that intimacy because they're paranoid about their bodies. They have had like that past hurt, carried
Mm-hmm.
trauma in, and they don't know how to articulate. And it's really interesting because it's more men who struggle to talk about sex. Even though, our
Mm-hmm.
opinions of what men and women think about sex is so different. But it's actually when you're trying to have the conversation with a couple, the woman is much more articulate, being able to say, this is where I'm at. The men, they don't explore the conversation. They go, yeah, no, it's grand, or no, it's not, or they'll be yes, no. They'll be much more embarrassed about it. Where these are the conversations that we need to be having, that it's actually okay to say, this is my need, this is my desire, and it's lacking at the moment, and how can we help?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So would you be open to talk about sex and intimacy with me today?
I would love to, Mark. And I just
I
get your take
feel,
on it from
yeah,
a
I feel it's such
spiritual
an
perspective.
important, yeah, I think it's such an important subject. Well, I love talking about sex. Uh, I feel it's still such a taboo. It is similar like mediumship. People don't talk much about connecting with the spirit world. And I feel like in your area as well, like people don't really communicate and they don't really talk openly about sex. So let's play with it. I'm going to formulate a hypothesis and then
Yes.
we are going to explore it together. So I would like to start by talking about women's orgasm.
Of course.
Okay, so I believe that understanding women's orgasm can save many relationships and allows couples to reach deeper levels of intimacy. Okay, what's your view on that?
100%. I, and I'm speaking from personal experience, I never had orgasms through penetrative sex until I met my current partner. I didn't even think it was possible. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought there was something wrong with my body. Didn't explore it. And part of it was obviously I wasn't relaxed enough. I wasn't comfortable enough in my own skin, and I didn't know what that should look like for me. So how could I expect somebody else to be able to do it for me?
Mm-hmm.
So a big part of
We're back.
apologies, I lost internet connection there. We were talking about female orgasm. So back to that, because it's a very important topic. I completely agree with what you were saying. I think if a woman isn't satisfied in the bedroom and feels like her needs aren't met, it will spill out into other areas. They will become much more sensitive to other things. So, but she has to understand herself and her own body first. I think we put a lot of onus on men figuring us out and men being able to take the lead. But if we don't know our own bodies or what we enjoy ourselves, how can somebody else pleasure you? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I certainly believe there is lack of knowledge on both parties.
Yes.
And I think it's to do with, there's such an ingrained misconception in people's minds of how women's orgasm looks like. And it's due to the fact how it is being depicted in movies.
It's the porn industry and movies have a lot to answer for.
And I really believe that that causes lots of problems in relationships because then women get ashamed and upset with themselves because they can't really reach an orgasm. And it is the same for men because they hope that they are going to be able to satisfy their partner. And what it leads to is that we have to fake pleasure.
Yes.
I'm sure you've been there. or we
Yes.
choose to do something different that's more pleasurable than the sex we can have. So I think, well, I can only base my knowledge on, well, I've never slept with a woman, but like I have a feeling that, yeah, I have a feeling that like, yeah, so many men base their knowledge on, probably they've watched maybe a couple of pornography films.
Yes.
Maybe they read an article in Wikipedia, and so many men feel there's a manual to women that you are going to press a button here, a button there, and then she's just going to reach an orgasm, which is not true. So I'm wondering, what would you be able to talk about, like how a woman's orgasm?
But I think the other thing that's overlooked is the build-up time.
Yes.
So men and women are obviously built differently, and foreplay is something that is often overlooked. And I remember reading something recently from an extract of the Karma Sutra that if you make a woman come twice before you penetrate her, the sex will be so much better for you. You know, like warming up a car, like warming up anything, you know, like we need to be coaxed more into it. And it doesn't just begin in the bedroom. I think that's the other part of it too. Women will be more turned on with intimacy in other ways. So not just in the bedroom in sex, but if you are physically connecting in other ways, you know, like a touch of an arm, a kiss on the neck, you know, the little things throughout the day, building that connection, building that tension, building that desire. You know, our bodies respond to that. You know, we get more excited, you get wetter, you get, you know, more turned on. You are like, oh, that desire was there. I want that. I'm building up to this. Where just going, okay, we have 5 minutes here between, you know, the kids, let's have a quickie, jump on. You know, there's no build up, there's no anything. The chances of a woman coming in those circumstances are incredibly rare. You know, from pure just penetration, you know, let's go, let's get this done, as opposed to taking time, touching them more like that. We have way more erogenous zones. There's more ways that you can pleasure a woman that never involve penetration, you know, and in that way, we're so much luckier. Like men are more limited to the ways that they can experience orgasm. And of course, it's different. Not every man orgasms every time. Not ejaculation and orgasm isn't necessarily the same thing for a man. And I suppose like that too, there are women out there who think I'll just jump on and a man will come and not put in an effort too. So like there are both ways. Like intimacy expands way beyond the bedroom, and it involves two people wanting to pleasure the other in a way that they like. And the other thing that we don't do is we don't ask our partners what they actually enjoy. We assume, like you say, because of the porno, because of other stuff, we kind of assume that this is how it's supposed to be done. And, you know, once one of us is happy, you know, that's all, it's job done. But both persons should leave the interaction feeling good. And that doesn't mean that both have to orgasm, but they should feel a connection. And I don't know about you, but I think it goes beyond the physical, that if you can have that spiritual connection through sex and that, you know, yearning that goes beyond just an orgasm. And plus, orgasms are amazing. And I know that there are going to be people out there watching it, especially women who have yet to experience one with a partner. And don't give up. There is so many things that you can do to build intimacy, to build pleasure, to experience orgasms. What are your thoughts on the whole spiritual connection going beyond the physical?
Yeah. Well, I definitely first want to talk that, yeah, it strikes me because I've met so many women who's never experienced an orgasm, or that are only able to reach an orgasm through self-pleasure practices, but never with their partner. So yeah, that's one thing. Another thing that popped into my mind
But how sad is that?
Yeah,
like
it is.
There's so many women and couples that are missing out on such an incredible connection that they could be having, and so much joy, and it expands their relationship. Like when you are connecting on that level with somebody, you have much more tolerance, much more desire, much more fun. You're much more creative. Like orgasms is the best thing for creativity for a woman. Like if you have their 2-hour window after you've had an orgasm, like, don't waste it. Like, this is the problem with going to bed and have sex. Like, you fall asleep. Like, if you are in a creative industry, that's 2 hours after an orgasm. The ideas are flowing, your energy is flowing, feels amazing. How sad is it that there's so many women think that an orgasmic life is for other people and not for them?
It is, and it brings me back to people not wanting to be vulnerable with each other and really not communicating, and people guessing and probably being proud and thinking that they're like both experts in sex, and you really grow as a couple. I believe it's another myth that people think that you can only experience a beautiful sex in the honeymoon phase. I
Yes.
believe that you can reach deeper states of intimacy with the time, and it's so
Yes.
important to talk and then check each other's boundaries, because for a woman to orgasm, she needs to feel safe. She needs
Yeah.
to trust. So I think that's so important. But I believe like sex can be such a heart opening and a soul blowing experience
Completely.
that so many people have not experienced. And of course, well, everyone's got a choice, and you can experience and go for any types of sex you want, as long as it is not abusive and
Of course,
consensual.
consensual sex is important.
So this is important. But yeah, I was in a very abusive relationship myself, and then I left it. And well, how can I put it nicely? We were definitely not sexually compatible. And then I went through, as I was going through my own spiritual awakening.
And what happened with your spiritual awakening? How did that impact it?
What happened is, during that connection with the divine and me becoming aware of my energy, I've started experiencing full body orgasms, energetic orgasms, without anyone touching me. And I was like, holy moly, like, what's going on? And then it only spiraled to me becoming aware of my own body, both the physical one and energetic, and then reaching multi-orgasms. And I'm like, wow. So this is why I really want to talk about it, because there is so much beyond the physical body that can be well done, whether it is for a self-pleasure practice or with your partner. So I think
like obviously we all talk about the tantric element. That's what tantric is known as, the whole body orgasm. So people think that that's for other people. But how would you recommend to people to experience that whole body orgasm? What would your advice to someone be?
And we had that short conversation, and I left with you like the way like some people go through near-death experience and then they wake up and they're able to speak another language. Or sometimes we don't understand, but we have a certain knowledge about certain subject that frequently might be something to do with our past life. And it happens to be that sex is one of my expertise. I have that knowledge about Tantra. I have that knowledge about like love and relationships. So for me, it came naturally. And I was just tuning in with my soul, body, and heart.
Wow.
The most important thing is to drop the idea of needing to be in your head, to really reconnect with your body.
Wow.
I would say it is so important to tune in with your breath, to really slow down. And actually, when you're aware of your energy centers, you are able to move your energy wherever you want. You're able to expand the energy. I think it's also like dropping expectations of needing to orgasm and concentrating on the journey. And as you were explaining the way women's orgasm looks like, I always compare it to a car. So we enjoy both the ride and a destination. So I would concentrate on the ride itself, and just tune into every sensation in your body that you experience. And this is when the time stops. And this is where you're really, really are able to connect with the divine. Yeah.
That is so, so beautiful, the way that you've explained that. It's just fab. And like that's something that people think are for other people, that they couldn't possibly enjoy or experience for themselves. And it's so cool that we can have this conversation and go, no, actually, you can figure this out. You can do that. You can experience it. Because I think you and I would both agree, we would love to bring that message and orgasms and pleasure to the masses, like have that as the norm, not the, oh, only people. It's like that meditation state where people think only a monk on a mountain can. Normal people can experience things too. Like we can all experience pleasure, but we're taught not to. Apologies.
Oh no,
Eli,
that's okay. It's a perfectly imperfect podcast.
The joys of being a working mom. But I think it's really cool that our bodies have these abilities to do things, and we are not taught that our bodies can do amazingly. Like when you learned about sex, did you ever hear about a full body orgasm?
No.
Did anyone teach you about pleasure?
No.
Or were you told this is how you make a baby?
Yes, I think this is the problem, that we're only taught about how to make sure we don't get pregnant.
Yes.
But there is no knowledge passed on to people how to actually enjoy sex.
No, and that's what it needs to be. And it needs to be a conversation that's allowed, especially within intimate relationships. Like that should be something that you can really talk about with your partner. I enjoy this. I don't enjoy that. Would you be willing to try something? But I know over here there's so much guilt and shame that's generational that we have carried with us, that, sex is something to be ashamed of. It's like periods, like anything to do with the female genitalia. Don't talk about it, hide it, be ashamed of it. Don't explore the fact that you are a sexual being. Like, I don't know about your culture, but definitely over here, you were slut shamed. You were, the names, as soon as you have your period, then you could be a sexual being. And that is something to be hidden and ashamed of. And our expectations of sex is so low in so many, like women are just, like we are told this is something, like for centuries it was, this is for the man's pleasure. You were just to lie back, that old expression, lie back and think, like that whole thing where you are just supposed to be there for somebody else's pleasure. And if you enjoy it, look at you, but you're not expected to. Where now, as generations later, we should be sitting here going, ladies, you're missing out. There's so much more. Sex can be amazing. Intimacy can be amazing. And for men too, that, try new things, be open to trying new things, be open to exploring things with your partner. Like date nights can just be the two of you at home, exploring what you like, just because you have kids, just because you're that little bit older. As you get older, you become more confident in your body. So many of us do, because we've got so used to, we have kids, this is what we look like now. We've kind of accepted who we are. And that's not, there's like this, I don't mean body shaming, nothing about weight, nothing about that. I just mean, as we get older, we start to figure out who we are a bit more. And that's the relationship to self part that I do with a lot of women. Like we get to that stage where, first of all, we lose our identity. I don't know if you were the same when you had your children. Did you lose who you were as a woman? That kind of, you just became somebody's mom. Like if I scroll through my phone, I would say at least 70 contacts are in as, say, Martha, Eva's mom, Mary, Liam's mom. Like you're just somebody's mom. You're just somebody's partner. And you lose that side of, I'm a sexual being, I'm a confident woman, this is who I am. I have to rediscover who we are as women. And then that leads to us exploring our bodies. What's possible for us? What are we open to? What do we enjoy? And giving yourself that time and space with a partner or with yourself, depending on what your relationship is like or what your status is. But get to know your body. Get to know what's possible. Push the boundaries of what you believed. Because like you would never have experienced a full body orgasm if you weren't open to at least the possibility that there's more than what you've been living with. What do you think on that? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I definitely believe that you can, well, when you're in a relationship with someone, definitely with time, you can experience much deeper levels of intimacy, and then sex can be nicer and better because you become, hopefully, with time, more vulnerable and open to each other. And I think this is the key. And what I truly believe is that once you've dropped those walls of protection and you're able to show your partner for who you are without fearing that you'll be rejected, this
That's
is
huge.
where you can really, really experience deep levels of intimacy. Yeah.
The other thing that we haven't touched on is the trauma side of sex, and the fact that there is such a huge relationship between relationships past and what we have experienced. And like you just touched on there, that whole rejection element, that if you've been rejected in the past, you're much more likely not to, or to close down and not be willing to put yourself out there, which is understandable. But there is also people who have experienced sexual trauma and abuse, as we too touched on, that we both have some knowledge and experience of it personally. And that does taint how you feel about your body, your self-confidence, and your ability to be open to sex. And I would just like to make the point that just because something has happened in the past doesn't mean it has to define you forever. And you can heal from it. And you what are your thoughts around healing around trauma and sex abuse? What do you think?
Well, what I really believe, and I've never thought that I would be able to say, that it is actually through the sex itself and the self-pleasure that you can heal your any traumas to do with the sexual abuse. Of course, I went through lots of therapy, like the spoken therapy, somatic therapy, but the very thing that caused abuse, the very thing that caused trauma, can actually heal you as well. And it is through sex that I was able to remove lots of trauma, remove lots of shame, or anything that energetically stayed in my body after leaving an abusive relationship. So I would say to anyone to give yourself time. But I also believe, I really believe in the energy work. And I feel like so many people don't talk about it. Well, we talk about how to make sure we don't get pregnant. So we protect ourselves from that. But no one talks about protecting your energy, or we talk about protecting your energy, like you put a bubble of protection so you don't really take the energy of other people. But that is so important as well for us to be very conscious and aware of the partner we are choosing to.
Yes.
Because sex for me is an exchange of energies. And
Completely.
what happens with women, especially with women's energy and their non-physical bodies, that energy of your partner stays in your aura, and it stays for much longer than in the non-physical body of a man. So I feel like that's also something that's not talked about.
I agree with you completely. And like that, every sexual interchange, especially for a woman, someone is actually physically entering your body. They are penetrating you. They are leaving a trace of themselves within you. You are literally absorbing their energy. And I do work around wombs and womb healing, and a lot of stuff that we clear. It's actually things like faking orgasms can actually cause gynae trouble. There's so much stuff that we hold on, things that we are literally holding in our wombs, holding in our cervixes from sexual bad sex, from sexual partners that we've had before, by the feelings that we had around it because of what we experienced. And our womb is an empty space. So we hold energy for loads of people. And we need to be mindful of who we let in. Physically, you are letting somebody in to your body. And we need to be mindful of their energy, their beliefs, their stuff. So it's not just, and I suppose maybe that's something that we need to talk about more. That when you actually have sex with somebody, they are, like you say, they're affecting your energy field, they're affecting your body, and you can hold on to that for way longer than we think. Like, I've worked with people who have held on to energies from partners, and not just abusive ones, but like actual just bad like a guy who hurt or had cheated on them or something like that, and that energy was still stuck in their wombs, and it was causing things like ovarian cysts, endometriosis, PCOS. There's so much link to the womb and gynecological, I can't say that word now, gynecological issues related to our sexuality, and not just like STDs and stuff, but like women are actually impacted. I will give you an example myself. I suffered for 15 years with severe ovarian cysts, horrendous periods, all down to the toxicity of my marriage. Within 2 months of him leaving the house, never had another ovarian cyst, periods got lighter. Like, our wombs are literally holding the trauma in our bodies. So there's a whole different conversation around that, but it's just to be aware of sex is amazing, but be aware of who you are having it with. And like we're saying about the energy, how you feel, how a person makes you feel when you're in the act. Be mindful, be present. Don't be thinking, like, I know so many of us, we find it very hard to enjoy the present moment, and our minds are in different places. And the thing that I thought of when you were speaking earlier was, so many people are disconnected from their bodies. And that's part of the problem with having pleasure and having orgasms, is we become disconnected from ourselves. So a lot of people, there's a huge increase in people suffering with anxiety, being on medication for it, with depression, because we all live up here and everything down below feels like an attack. So every sensation, we've got so much pain, suffering, illnesses, and we just shut off our bodies. And the main way in order to, and sex can be huge in that, if you are starting to understand your body, starting to connect with yourself, like what you said about the breathing, getting into that space and understanding what you enjoy, getting out of your head and into your body, it will have such a massive impact on your health, how you feel physically, yourself. There's so much beauty there in connecting with yourself, and sex is such an incredible tool to be able to explore yourself and who you are. Like self-pleasure or with partner.
Yeah, and you can do so much healing, whether on your own or with a partner. The way Spirit showed me, they used that analogy a while ago. If you think about the car's battery, like when you're intimate with your partner and you are experiencing those deeper levels of intimacy and the energy, your hearts open up and they charge each other, and you're really able to recharge each other's batteries, but you're also able to remove trauma from each other bodies, and you're able to grow as a couple and then ascend. And this is where this is why we talk in spirituality about like divine union and the sense of oneness and the connection with the universe. So I feel it's important to mention about that aspect of couples being able to heal each other as well.
That is just such a beautiful analogy. I'm going to use that again in the future. That is just perfect. And you're so true, that opening of the heart space, that connection beyond the physical level is just beautiful, and something that I hope we have many more conversations like this, because I think it's fabulous what's possible and what the human body can do. And like that, it's beyond the physical. And that energetic bond is just gorgeous when you're with the right person. Like,
and once you've experienced this type of sex, there's no way you would settle. Like, why would you settle for something less?
And that's it, you'll hold on to it, you will, but it will make you want the partner more, it'll make you more invested in the relationship, it will make you, and like you say, you become more discerning about the sexual partners for the future. But I just think there's so much more power in that sexual energy and that connection that we need to explore, and give ourselves permission to, and like that, heal that guilt, heal that shame, heal that trauma, because that's holding us back so much in life.
Yeah, well, there's so many other subjects that we could cover, around sex, but we definitely need to have more conversations. But
Loads more.
I feel like we should now share with the viewers and listeners like how people can work with you, and what are your offerings. And I definitely need to have you back, and I know we'll speak with Enya as well on Instagram. So yes,
Our
stay
next talk
tuned.
is around the topic of sex, the three of us as well.
Yes, so
that'll
we'll
be fun.
carry on exploring that. Yes.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk. At the moment, we have our relationship reset program. So that's for couples who want to come with us and explore their issues. And how that works is you come, we do a joint session, and then you do some individual work for your healing, and then you come back again, and work as a team. And it's lovely. Myself and Niall do it. You get both the male and female perspective as coaches and clients. It's a really cool way of looking at a relationship and getting the independent, because we work nearly as mediators at times, where if somebody's in an individual session, they don't feel comfortable talking to the partner, we can be the messenger at times if needed be, which a lot of couples find quite good when they're trying to learn the communication. And then one-on-one, I'm working with women at the moment as well, and I just love that. Like, there is my 6-month pleasure program, which is literally an orgasmic life. And then we have Eli, who is here at the moment. I apologize for the added noise and background.
Nothing to apologize.
And that's with you and Enya. It's fab. So I look forward to more. And thank you so much for letting me come.
No, it's been a pleasure speaking with you about pleasure. And could you only mention to the viewers and listeners where they can find you?
Okay. I am on Instagram as Kuiper Healing, Kuiper Healing, and our website is kuiperhealing.com. So thank you so much, Martha. I really appreciate
it. Well, thank you, Aoife. And I would like to say goodbye to all of the viewers and listeners. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.